Alright, so we got us a mess of snails here, and it's time to collect all these snails and put them up in that tank. So let's check that out. Alright, here's what the tank looked like before I started the makeover. The first thing I did was fill a 5-gallon bucket with some dechlorinated water to temporarily store all of the snails, because I knew this is probably going to be at least a 2-day ordeal. So I wanted something to keep them in for at least a couple of days, and this 5-gallon bucket did fine. I just plopped a sponge filter in there. They were fine. I put both of the sponge filters in there actually, and yeah, they were in there for 2 days and they did just fine in there. Put something on the top to keep them from getting out. Now the first thing I wanted to tackle is getting rid of all the duckweed that's on the top. There was a lot of duckweed, and initially I kind of liked it, but over time you kind of get tired of duckweed. It keeps multiplying and it just becomes a real hassle. I also had to remove all the decorations. There weren't a ton of decorations in this tank, so that didn't really take that much to do. The biggest job was getting all these snails, one by one or handfuls, out of the tank and into the bucket. And as I stirred up the water, the substrate started getting stuff up in the water column, and it just got increasingly more difficult as you messed up the tank. But I managed to get all of them into the bucket without too much hassle. I lowered the water level and, kept finding more of them. And then at the very end, I kind of sifted around through the substrate to make sure I didn't miss any. And then removed all of the plants and temporarily stored those as well. Then I took the tank outside and I cleaned it all up to get ready for the makeover, which was pretty simple. I also took the opportunity to paint the back of the tank, because why not? So this is, I was filling up the tank, you can tell that there is no substrate. It's just all bare bottom. I put a planter in there and then put the plants in the planter. In the future, I plan on maybe adding some more planters. You can see the one of the Amazon swords won't stay because it doesn't have a big root system. It had been floating for a while, so not sure about that. But there's also some Java moss on a rock in a corner there. But the goal with this redesign is to keep it simple, just to paint the back, make it look cleaner, and get rid of the substrate. Alrighty, folks. Well, now you can see we got the final product, and you can tell that the snails have already made a mess, and they've already knocked out a plant out of my little planter there in the center. But all in all, I'm still pretty happy with it. That Amazon sword that's floating had been floating for some time, and it doesn't have long roots, so I'm going to have to really bury it in there, because these snails, they get around, and they like to make a mess. So anyway, this is their new home. I may do some more with this tank, maybe some more pots for plants. But at this time, and that's pretty much all we're going to do. So I want to thank you all for checking out this short little tank renovation video. And stay tuned for some more stuff in the near future.